Entrepreneurship and Creativity, part of the syllabus for the subject Principles of Management. Now, entrepreneurship. The question for you is, who is an entrepreneur? Mainly, there are 4 points that has to be covered in the person whom we can see as an entrepreneur. To name them, first of all, and most essentially, he or she has to be engaged in a center of economic activity. I repeat, center of an economic activity. Only economic activity or only creativity doesn't help. However, I'll come to creativity later. The first point, as I said, is engaged in center of some economic activity. Let me give you an example. Way back in 1897, the pre-independent India, when the British rule was prevailing, and at the hem was Gandhi's Swadeshi movement, a young lawyer at the age of 18, 20, something like that, inspired by Gandhi, inspired by his noble cause of Swadeshi movement, thought of creating something of this country's own. There were a lot of laws those days being dominated by the German companies, so he thought, why not creating a law of his own country? That's how Mr. Ardeshir Godrej started law making, which today, way back in 21st century, in 2020, has become a very well-known brand as Godrej Law. Now you see, he was inspired by a noble cause, Gandhi's Swadeshi movement. He believed in Gandhiism a lot, but only that cause was not enough to become an entrepreneur. Neither that time, many people who started Swadeshi movement, to that matter, a very essential part of economy, that point of time was enough. He became someone who took the initiative, who in that sense was a leader. However, we'll not use the word leader right now. We keep it reserved for the next part of our syllabus. So he was the one who took an initiative to create a law of his own, and that's how Godrej Law started its journey, and which today has become a conglomerate appointing thousands and thousands of people. So the first thing, if we have to say who is an entrepreneur, the first essential characteristics is he or she has to be engaged in what you call it as some center of economic activity, and then gradually he or she will have to continue this journey. Like after making Godrej Law, we started off thinking of why not making a soap of our own. That time many foreign brands were available, and so we thought of creating a soap brand. That's how from the locksmith was going into making soap. And trust me, that time many freedom fighters, many Swadeshi movers, were using this Godrej soap and indirectly became the brand ambassador. So from a lock making to Godrej soap, and see, gradually he overcame the first step of becoming what we know as a Godrej conglomerate or an industry, which is present today from real estate to retail and everywhere. So the first point definitely is that he or she has to engage in some center of economic activity. Then the next thing has to be the joy of creating. Like Mr. Ardeshir Godrej was engaged in joy of creating something which is of India's own, which is essentially very indigenous, and that's how he created law and so. But only the joy of creating, does it make an entrepreneur? No, definitely not. In that case, we would have called a painter or a music composer also an entrepreneur. But definitely we don't call Mr. A.R. Rahman or Mukul Fida Hussain or Vincent van Gogh an entrepreneur, but they're very, very creative. The topic, as we said, is entrepreneurship and creativity. Definitely entrepreneurs have to be creative, but all creative persons do not become entrepreneur. Why not? The second thing we are saying is this creativity has to be involving some people. Where people are involved, where I am recruiting someone. It's not only a one-man army and I create on my own satisfaction. No, it has to be involving people. So only sole creators or very creative person definitely doesn't make an entrepreneur. That's the second point. The third point we say is like his impulse to fight against all challenges. There are so many successful entrepreneurs, starting from Dhirubhai Ambani to the very recent entrepreneurs, who have been overcoming so many challenges. Now, again, going back to this topic, like entrepreneurship and creativity. So who can be coined as an entrepreneur? And here it's like Professor John Cow from Harvard, former professor at Harvard Business School, says, an entrepreneur does business creativity. So the creativity has to be a business creativity. Now the question over here is, what is business creativity? Business creativity is something which is an idea that has been transformed into value, a value which is meaning something to the society, something which is a commercial value, people are buying. So that can be said as entrepreneur. So if we have to sum it up and say who is entrepreneur, allow me to give you an example given by the learned management guru Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker says, or he rather thinks, that an entrepreneur always seeks challenges, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity. And most importantly, he or she is engaged in an activity that goes on. Now, as we move on and we come to almost to the last part of our session, it's like, what are then the attitudes or ideal entrepreneurship trait? First, definitely, is to take out the fear. An entrepreneur always has that willingness to take risk. He or she is always taking risks. There are many examples where people have left their job, started something of their own. So that security, that secure income, coming out of that zone, taking that risk. You see companies like Mentra and all of them started in this way only, where people were willing to take risk of coming out of the comfort zone of a fixed salary, taking the risk, so that risk taking is much important. Secondly, he or she should have a worthy goal. If an entrepreneur is constantly thinking of my own benefit, my own profit, then I'm sorry to say that he or she will not have a long run. In management, we call it a golden handshake, where I am thinking how me and the people whom I'm recruiting will be benefited, and how we can, to that matter, benefit society. But of course, when I say benefit society, doesn't mean I'm running an NGO. Benefiting society, and in the end, I am earning also in revenue. Last but not the least, never giving up attitude. Remember, I started my example giving Adarshi Godrej. He didn't stop his journey only creating Godrej Dog. He went on to creating Godrej Soap, and then the journey continues. An entrepreneur is a visionary. An enterprise is creating an enterprise which is not a 2 months or a 1 year appeal. It goes on. And probably that's where the question comes, is an entrepreneur a leader? Well, I keep that reserved for my next session, next class, which talks about leadership. Leadership itself is a chapter for the syllabus, principles of management. Thank you.